Hey everyone, it's Sarah, one of the hosts of Coffee, Wine, and True Crime. Each week, Jordan and I sit down with drinks in our hand and break down the most wild, unheard of cases in each state. Check us out each Monday on wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on Twitter at CWATC Podcast and on Instagram at Coffee, Wine, and True Crime Podcast. And if you really want to make our day, make sure to leave us a review. So grab a drink and join us on Monday. We'll see you there.
Welcome to Reverie True Crime. I'm your host, Paige, and today is part 2 of my conversation with Waco survivor, David Thibodeau. Again, please look over my complete awkwardness and just focus on what David has to say. Without further ado, here's part 2.
I like that you ask people what questions they had for me in advance. I think that's fun. Favorite part is answering questions.
One person said, how did you end up in Texas? Because you're originally from Maine, right?
I took a wrong turn at Albuquerque.
Oh, my God.
I went from Maine to Los Angeles, where I went to music school. And then I took the wrong turn at Albuquerque that ended me up in Waco. So what happened was I was living in L.A. My whole life I wanted to be in L.A. I went to music school there. I studied at Musicians Institute, PIT, Percussion Institute of Technology. I did my year program there, graduated, started playing with bands around town. I had a number of dead-end jobs in Hollywood that never went anywhere. It just was sucky. Yeah. And I was finally working at Man's Chinese Theater and the gift shop. And I had a stupid red smock on. And I was selling these trinkets to tourists.
Yeah.
I had a stupid red smock on. I looked up one day and I said, God, can you introduce me to the people I'm supposed to meet here? I feel like I'm ready to move on with my life, and just introduce me. I didn't say introduce me to my Robert Plant or my
right.
Yeah. I said introduce me to the people I'm supposed to be. Be careful what you ask for,
yeah.
folks. That's the key to this tale. And so literally a day or two later, I went into Musicians Institute, and there was Dave and Steve looking at one of the drum sets and asked me if I'd play it for them.
Yeah.
So that was it. I mean, literally, I prayed that in all sincerity and then met Dave and Steve Schneider. It's very weird.
It's crazy.
And now here I am, 51, talking about the events of 1993.
Yeah.
This is life's.
That's how brutal it was, though. It's a part of history, you know?
Yeah.
Can you believe that you're a part of history now?
No. I get it. But, it's not real. It's real, but it isn't. Being a musician, I need a lot of people telling me all the time that they want to hear my story or that they're happy that I'm doing this or whatever. Because for so many years, it was just me against the world, and it was all negative. It was all like, you're a cultist, you're this, you're that. And so it's for years I had all this information in my head, but I couldn't point to a show and say, watch this show, and then we could talk. So then I wrote a book because I was so frustrated that no one cared, that no one got it. I wrote a book because the way the people were being presented is not who they were. And it wasn't right that historically they're going to go down as being a bunch of idiotic people that were misled into their own death and destruction. That it wasn't right to me.
Yeah.
It's not who they were. So then I wrote a book that no one cared about.
I was going to say, when your book came out, how did it do? Like, were people buying it off the shelf, or was nobody worried about it?
No, it wasn't fun. I started to give talks all over the country, though. I went all around the country giving talks and, promoting the book. But there was very few. It was slow. I had to tell the tale from the beginning all over the place. I did it over and over again. And then they started to do the greatest documentary on the subject is Waco, the Rules of Engagement. You don't hear much about it.
I've
but it's the
never
one
heard
that's
of
got the
it.
tanks, and it shows that's the one that shows the infrared video, where you can see the fully automatic weapons fire. So that's available on my website. The
Okay.
book, signed copies of my book are available on my website for anyone who may want a signed copy of the book. But those documentaries, there's 2 of them. The Rules of Engagement was nominated for an Oscar. I mean, it's a phenomenal piece of work.
Wow.
Dan Gifford, Mike McNulty, William Gazecki. And then the second one, the follow-up is Waco, A New Revelation. And that's the one that talks about the pyrotechnic devices.
Mm.
The first one, great documentary, gives you a good idea of the history of Mount Carmel, but really focuses on that infrared video at the end, which is so important.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're all great. I mean, these are all, these are the things that should be taught in school.
Yeah.
And no one will touch it. No one will touch the infrared video. They won't talk about it because it's so explosive. They just don't. They're not going to. The system isn't going to police itself. The system is going to protect itself at all costs. That's what's happened here. The system is protecting itself.
Yeah. Well, somebody asked, Alex asked, how do you feel about the Netflix series, and how do you feel about how they covered it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that the Netflix series, the most important thing it did, it humanized the people. Mm-hmm. And it also showed people what was going on behind the scenes with the FBI, that there was a rift between the tactical commanders and the negotiators. That's important for people to understand. And that I wish it would have covered David more when he was younger, so people could get an idea of like how he was beaten, how he was kind of maligned. They did some scenes, but they had to cut him for brevity's sake. They had some scenes, more scenes between my mother and Bonnie, David's mother, that I thought were very poignant. They didn't have time for. But, the stuff with the FBI negotiators and the tactical commanders were good, except for that one FBI hostage rescue team guy where he was all crying. I don't think he was crying. They didn't give a shit. The hostage rescue team, they're a bunch of psychopaths. They did not have emotions or feelings. So I personally believe that they made that more dramatic than it was. I don't think they gave 2 craps. Yeah. I think there were some agents on the ground that cared, and the fact that the kids died, they were very torn up about it. But I don't think the members of the hostage rescue team were crying.
Yeah. I can't. I mean, I know it sounds brutal, but I just don't think in my mind that they were either. Yeah. So, what was the last thing that you remember happening?
You know what the producer said? I'm going to interrupt you there. You can ask me that in a second.
Go ahead.
When we were first talking about this, and we were talking about how they're going to portray the FBI, and they said, listen, and they said, don't quote me on this, so I'm not going to mention any names of who told me this.
Yeah.
But someone that was intimately involved in the creation of this thing said, we had to make the FBI appear smarter than they really were. From what we uncovered, some of the things they did were so stupid and idiotic, we can't even believe they did it. So we actually had to make them look better, just to have a believable balance. Nice, huh?
Unreal.
Yeah, I think that's pretty funny.
Oh, my God. So is it the part at the end that really got me was when the women and children were trying to get out of the bottom. And was that what happened? Is that how most of them passed away?
No, they were all in the concrete structure. Nobody ever got to the bus. Okay. The reason nobody got to the bus is the FBI gassed the bus, but they also collapsed the building on top of the entranceway to the bus, so no one could get down there.
Wow.
So the underground bus wasn't exposed like that either, but they wanted to create a visual to show that there was like a struggle there. But that actually didn't happen. Okay. All the women and children were put in the concrete structure. So what was accurate, the tank came in and put its boom into the open door of the concrete structure and then gas through the open door. So, this is interesting. The tank didn't go in and pierce the concrete like it showed in the series.
Yeah.
But something happened at the top of the bunker. We don't really know what it is. But something exploded. Some say it was a shape charge because all the concrete came down in, and many of the kids died of blunt force trauma. So there was an explosion up top. We don't know what that was.
Oh
We
my
just don't know.
God.
I don't know. Some people think that the boom of the tank hit the ceiling, and that's why the concrete came down on them. But there's actually a picture of a circle in the top of the concrete structure with the rebar intact, but all the concrete down. So the rebar wasn't even bent in, which is very, very interesting. I am not a forensic expert, or I don't understand about explosions or how they work. So I don't know. I just see this picture and say, it looks like there was an explosion to me, but what do I know?
Yeah.
See, there's a lot of weird theories that I don't like getting into. Some that there was a team that came in and killed Dave and Steve. They came into the building. I don't believe that, but I have seen pictures of FBI agents in full gear with what looks like oxygen tanks on their back. So I find that very interesting.
So David didn't commit suicide?
I don't know.
No.
The best scenario, as far as what the autopsy showed, is that David was shot in the head and that Steve Steiner had taken his own life. So the belief is Steven shot David, and then Steve took his own life. That's probably the truth. But I wasn't there, so I don't know. I did not see it. I just don't know.
Yeah. Okay, so another question is, how do you feel when other people cover your story without really getting the story from you personally, but articles online, Wikipedia, and different media outlets, instead of just talking to you and they cover it?
They're usually wrong.
Yeah.
Just about every article I read gets something wrong. There's a new one of a mortician that has done something where she's talking about different aspects of Waco, and it's mostly wrong. She talks about there being a resurrection off between George and Dave. There was no resurrection off. George thought that he could resurrect a body and challenge Dave to a duel.
Yes!
Dave said, "You're crazy."
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah. So, but Dave, this girl makes it sound like they showed up in a room, and no, David didn't want anything to do with it. He called the sheriff's department and said, "Isn't that corpse abuse? Isn't there a law against that?" So he tried to turn all that information to the sheriff's department. They wouldn't have anything to do with it. So
yeah, is it true that they told him, we have to have proof of that, go back and take a picture or something and bring it back and show us that there's really a corpse out there?
First they went out and got pictures of the casket, and then the second time the sheriff's department said, "Well, it's not illegal to have a casket in your church. We need pictures of the bones. We need to know if there's a body in that casket." And so they said, "All right, well," and as they were leaving, someone in the sheriff's department said, "You guys be careful. There's some dangerous characters out there." So what does that mean? So that's when David went out the next time and brought guns and had some guys with him that had firearms. And it turns out the dangerous characters were the fact that George Roden had worked some kind of deal out where people that were getting released from jail or prison were coming out to Mount Carmel and helping them produce meth.
Yeah, I remember reading about that.
Out there.
And when David owned it, he came in and saw all of that. Saw the meth lab and the meth stuff when he, I guess he owned it, or she turned it over to him.
He turned it over to the sheriff's department.
Okay. Jeez.
And then I guess it was law. A lot of missing evidence in this case, including the front door, the two double doors. One of the doors was missing, the one that had all the bullet holes coming from the outside in. That door, the FBI said, disintegrated in the fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I bet a lot of stuff disintegrated.
The videotapes, the early stages of the raid, 2 tapes disappeared, and the 3rd tape was accidentally recorded over. Sorry, guys. We got the biggest raid in law enforcement history, and we've lost all the tapes. Sorry about that, but they fired first. That's the other thing. If you really believe the ATF fired first this way, you're just an idiot. You're just a sucker, and you're a fucking sap, and you deserve everything that happens to you. You think the government's going to protect you? Open your doors, pal, because you know what? You're just a fucking idiot. I'm sorry. I don't even mean to swear, but when I think about the idiocy of their side of the story, when I think about the shit that I got to deal with every day. No, what were you going to say?
I said it's got to make you angry. I would have a lot of anger Yeah.
I do. These people should be in jail, and they should have paid us $1,000 for the shit they did to us. They don't even give us fucking health care. They don't even give us fucking, none of the kids, they haven't offered psychological fucking help for any of the children that survived that shit, went through this. It's like, oh, you guys were involved in a siege against the government. Screw you. Good luck. We're going to get raises and promotion. You guys can kiss off. Yeah, it's a fucking travesty. It's an absolute travesty. And, something should be done. At least the kids should have health care and psychological care if they want it.
Yeah.
But they've offered nothing. And all they do is sit there and say that they're fucking innocent. They're not innocent. And these people have done it. They've murdered. They murdered this entire community of people. Black Lives Matter? Not if you're a Davidian.
Yeah.
Black Lives didn't matter then. Where was the ACLU? Nowhere to be found. Where were they? Where were these groups? Nowhere. None of them wanted nothing to do. It was guns and it was religion. Bye. See ya. Thanks, liberals. Seriously, I was raised liberal. I thought these people wanted to hear my story. Not one liberal group wanted to hear what I had to say. Not one. The only people that reached out to me that wanted to hear what I had to say were gun rights groups and kind of right-wing groups. A lot of gun clubs wanted me to talk. Militias wanted me to talk for them. Literally, these are the only people that would even listen to what I had to say.
That is surprising to me.
You're telling me?
That's surprising.
They brought out agent provocateurs, is what they did. There was a woman named Linda Thompson who, when I was first giving my very first talks in Florida, she had them canceled. She called and she said, David Thibodeau is a government agent. And they're like, what do you mean? He's one of the Waco survivors. How do you think he survived? And how come he wasn't tried? He's a government agent. And so those people actually canceled my first talks that I had scheduled. Because this is the witch, this Linda Thompson bitch, was the same woman that did that fucking documentary, The Big Lie. And in The Big Lie, she has a tank. Well, there was a news tape. A tank goes into the building and comes back and goes down the hill. That's the shot. When the tank goes into the building and starts to come back, it looks like there's flame at the end of the tank. When the tank goes all the way back down, you see that there's a pink fiberglass over the turret that's reflecting the sunlight. You don't see that until the tank comes out and goes down the hill. What Linda Thompson did is she cut the tape to make it go in and out twice to look like fire, and it looks like it's fire. It looks like they are setting the building on fire. And there's no one that wishes that more than me.
Right.
But at the same time, I had to say, no, she lied about that. She put that in there to fit. She is an agent provocateur. I believe she's hired by the government to say that so that they could say later, look at how they manipulated this. They're the liars. So I called her on her bullshit all along.
Yeah, even though you wish that's what would have happened, you have to stand in your truth about it.
Absolutely. The truth is the truth. And I wish people would just stop making shit up. And all you Trumpers, too. Stop it.
Yeah.
Stop it. You're not doing anybody any fucking good by lying. Same thing on the left. Those assholes, too. All you're doing is confusing people. And that's the point. The point is to confuse people so they can get what the fuck they want. That's the elitists get protected. They want to protect the elite. And you're all a bunch of idiots for fucking falling for it. So stop it. You Trumpers, stop it. I'm serious. I can't say it enough. Stop it. Stop acting like a bunch of idiots. Seriously. Start reading more. Stop it. Stop going around saying you don't need to wear a fucking mask. You're an idiot. I'm sorry. You know what? I don't wish ill will on anyone, but when Kane goes to a Trump rally and he ends up getting the coronavirus and dying, I hope people will learn from that and say, oh, maybe this is something. Maybe I should wear a mask. And you know what? Nobody should have to fucking fight this. This is these lives are being lost because, I'll tell you why. Because of Waco. And let me explain. Okay. These lives are being lost because people don't believe their government anymore because the government lies to you. Waco is a prime example of how much the government lies to you. If the news agencies told the truth, we would not be in this situation. But the fact that these people have lied for decades upon decades upon decades, now you get a guy like Trump in to go all the way to the other side and bring back hate racism. That's what we need more of. Fucking hate and racism. Are you serious? We got a candidate that thrives off hate and racism. His show was like, you're fired. That was his catchphrase. Think about it. Y'all put in office a guy whose catchphrase is, you're fired.
Yeah.
Seriously, guys. Seriously. He's not the Messiah. Trump's not the Messiah. People think he's here to drain the swamp and he's going to get rid of that 1%. He's a part of the 1%, guys. Come on.
I don't know how people don't understand that.
I don't either.
I don't
Honestly,
get it.
Hillary was no better. I hated her too.
Yeah.
It was the worst choice. The worst choice in the history of our country was between Trump and Hillary. The worst choice of the 300 million plus people in this country. Those are the best we can come up with.
Yes.
You know what? The fix is in. No, seriously. Some people need to lose their jobs. Some people need to be retired. They need to go. They need to go. We need fresh blood. This system, this good old boy, whatever the hell this crap is, it's the industrial military complex is what it is. It needs to go. It's time. Yeah. So if any millennials out there within the sound of my voice heed my story at all, please, it's going to be up to you guys to do something about it. We failed. This generation, my generation has failed completely. Absolutely failed. We failed. Big time. It's up to you guys.
Yeah. I feel like the younger generation kind of gets it more, and the older generation is more kind of like sheep.
Yeah.
And they believe everything they read, and they post these things on Facebook that are copy and paste, and you have people over 60 years old spreading these lies. It blows my mind. And it's a simple Google search to figure out if this stuff's true or not, you know?
I had the guy tell me the other day, are you ready for this?
I don't know.
That slavery. I had to go to historical websites and give him several different sources to look at when he made the statement to me. And this is not David Thibodeau making the statement. I am quoting someone else. Let's get that out of the way. But I had someone tell me the other day, I'm the son of a history teacher, that it was black people that sold their own into slavery.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot.
So it's like, guys, it was the Portuguese who started taking slaves from Africa. And it was so successful that the European nations got behind it, and they all supported it. And let's just say this: if there wasn't a market, it would never have happened. So the fact that white people paid for slaves is why it happened at all. Period. Yeah. So again, I had to go through 3 or 4 different historical resources and show this guy. This shit should have been covered.
Yeah, it's stuff we didn't learn in school.
6 or 7 years of school.
Yeah.
It should be, this should be known. It is known, as they say in the Game of Thrones. This is known. And the fact that we're having to make these arguments, the simplest, most ridiculous things that we have to start from the beginning and educate people.
Yeah.
It's sad, man.
Yeah.
We should be so much further advanced. But it's this Trump saying it's fake news, it's fake news, it's fake news.
God, yeah.
Everything is in question now. And it's hard. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to not recognize my country at all from when I was a kid. I don't recognize this country at all. It's totally different. And it's not for the better. No. And it's sad enough. I'm not hopeful.
Yeah, I'm not either. Let's see.
I want to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe God's going to make it okay someday, huh?
Yeah. Well, somebody wanted to know if you're still in touch with the survivors and how many survived.
Well, currently I live in very close proximity to Clive Doyle. I spoke to Heather Jones the other day. She was 8 when she came out of the building, one of the kids. Kevin Jones, we just did something for him to help him raise some money to save his house.
Yeah, I think, was that the one that was shared on Facebook? Because I reshared something. I think that was it.
Yeah, no, definitely. Kevin's been great kid. Works very hard too. It sucks that he's in this position because he works like 10-hour days. So it's hard to believe that he's could have gotten that far behind. And I'm just worried that this is going to happen more and more to Americans.
Yeah.
Right now, my only source of income is books and videos that I sell from the site. So, but that's fine. I really want to give talks again for people in a real room where I can really, interact with the audience, but obviously we can't do that now.
Yeah. Oh, that sucks.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of people that would, especially now when they've watched the Waco series and they've realized more, like you said, it humanized everybody. And it was so captivating and emotional. And I think it made people understand how wrong that was.
Yeah. I might have to look into doing another Zoom event where people can come and.
Yeah, you could host. You can have like 150 people, I think. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that'd be fun.
Yeah, you got to look into that.
Yeah, maybe I'll see if Clive will do it. I'll see if I get Heather. Maybe we'll all do it.
That'd be great. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So how often do you go back to Mount Carmel?
I don't anymore because of Charlie Pace, the old guy that's out there on the property now. Ooh, what a story. I don't even want to get into it.
Yeah.
The brief rundown is this guy was studying under Lois Road. When Vernon Howell took over, who was David Koresh, he didn't like Vernon, never even listened to what he had to say, and just remained with Lois, then studied under George. So when Vernon took over and became David Koresh, Charlie Pace moved. He moved to Alabama or something. Had nothing to do with the group anymore. And he was kicked off by two different prophets. Well, people consider them to be prophets. Ben Roden, Lois Roden, and then George actually kicked him off too, the property. So when everyone died, he came as soon as he couldn't start squatting and living on the land. So we let him live out there. Clive was out there. A couple other people were out there. And basically, he just kind of bullied everyone off. He got too big for his britches, and now he's running the show out there. I went out there for a bit and was talking to audiences, and then he got jealous because people were out there to see me, and they didn't want to talk to him. And so then he put these banners up that were just sacrilegious. They just basically said that Heather's family is burning in hell. That made me upset because it upset Heather every time she went to the church. So she didn't go to the church anymore. I asked Charlie very, very nicely to take the banners down. He wouldn't do it. I said, Charlie, you're in violation here. What everybody wants. Everyone thinks these banners are wrong. And everyone that's coming out here is seeing this. It's just wrong. You got to take them down. He wouldn't do it. So I left the property, and I haven't been back since. In the process, I've started a fund called the Mount Carmel Preservation and Historical Fund. And I'm not a 501c yet. I'm working on getting the fund. I'm working on being, a nonprofit. I'm not yet. So all the money just stays in an account. But I'm going to have to get an attorney. I've already got a couple people I'm working with because I want to challenge him on the property issue. But I'm not at the point yet that I can.
Yeah.
Before I would go back out there and say, okay, I'm staying on the land, Charlie, he'll probably shoot me. So I at least need a legal document. So when he shoots me, he goes to jail and his family. Yeah, something. I need something to protect myself before I go back out there. So that's what I'm working on now.
Yeah. Well, what about the first time you ever went back? What did you feel? What did you think?
It was powerful. I was living in Austin at the time, and I didn't even want to come back to Waco. And the closer I got to that Waco sign that said Waco, you're entering Waco, the harder it's almost like there was a force pushing back at me that wanted me to turn my ass around and go back to Austin. Yeah. And I stayed, and I went out to the property, and it was the first memorial, and it was fascinating. It was, it was heavy. It was like you're seeing the place where it all happened. It was very, very intense. Very powerful feeling, though. Anyone that goes out there feels that it's a very powerful place. It's just the curator of the place now is this guy that is so wrong in so many levels. His whole outlook, how he treats people. how he treats the survivors. He thinks that, I don't know what he thinks. He wants to be David. It blows my mind. And this guy, he's just done nothing, but he kicked off Ophelia. She was one of the survivors, an 80-year-old woman, just kicked her off the property. Clive finally couldn't deal with him and just left. He couldn't deal with him anymore. He could not deal with Charlie anymore. He's just not a nice person.
Well, when you own it,
about it,
one day you're going to own that place. And when you do, I'll come visit.
I don't think I'll ever own it. I think I wanted to go to the Joneses personally because, like, their whole family died there. It was,
right.
Perry Jones. I can't think of anyone that deserves the property more than Heather Jones, Kevin Jones, the Joneses, the Jones family, and the remnants of the Jones family really deserve that place. And they want it. Heather would love to live out there again, but not with someone like Charlie making her life a living hell. And that's what he did. Basically, he took he took one of the few child survivors of Waco and basically tortured her by putting a banner up that showed her family, and then the banner said, "These people are rotting in hell for following David Koresh." What a piece of crap. What kind of fucking bully does that? It's absolutely disgusting. And that's the guy, when you go out there now, he claims he's a survivor, and then he takes donation on behalf of survivors. No survivors see that money. So I was willing to work with Charlie. And he asked me to leave. So there's no working with someone like that.
No. He seems very evil to me.
He's definitely wrong. There's something not right about the individual. Yeah. That's all I'm gonna say. Hurting me, I don't care about that. Hurting Heather, that's a different story.
Yeah.
There's no need for that. Literally, all of the people that went through that hell, he has kicked off that property. Who the fuck do you think you are, dude? Who do you think you are? Yeah. And then he claims that, he's a servant of God. Who do you think you are? It blows my mind.
That makes me so angry inside. I could just explode. Like, I couldn't imagine being a survivor and seeing that or hearing that.
Yeah. That's terrible.
So the kids that survived, did they remember everything? Like, what's the youngest person that survived that?
I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't know who the youngest child was. I know several came out during the siege, something like, I don't have the number off the top of my head. I know 23 people came out during the siege, 9 people came out during the fire.
Yeah.
But I think it was like 13 kids altogether or something like that.
Wow.
I know that Heather was 8 when she came out. I think Kevin was 10.
That is so young. So did they remember everything vividly and being that young, or?
Heather does, yeah. She's got a lot of memories about the place.
Jeez.
Definitely. What are you doing? You hanging in? You looking for more questions?
Yeah, somebody asked if there really was conflict between the women as portrayed on the Netflix series, such as Rachel and her young sister.
I'm sure there was. I didn't see it.
Yeah.
I thought that was a brilliant piece of writing, however. I'm not sure where they got it from, but that conversation explained a lot of things. And the fact that it brought up Rachel's dream was true. Rachel had a dream that said that this is what God wanted David to do, marry her sister. And it was because Rachel had this dream and then said that in front of the group, that I had this dream and God told me that this is what God really wants, is for David to marry Michelle. Rachel did not need to say that.
Yeah.
So and this was before my time. This is about a year or two before, 3 years before I came into it, 2 or 3 years. Yeah. So, I'm just going by the stories that I heard from people. But they said that dream was very important to, David continuing on and having kids with Michelle.
Yeah. Wow. So I do want to know if you and your mom ever talked about what she was going through while all this was happening. Because I know I saw, like, she was with David's mom and everything at the time, and was she losing her mind, worried? I'm sure.
Yeah, but she was more trying to figure out how she was going to get to me or get to the FBI or try to reason with them. And she did that through the media. She got really good at using the media. And she'd be like, listen, I'll do your show, but you need to pay for a few days in a hotel for me here. I mean, she really put everything together so she could stay in Waco the whole time. And she made a lot of contacts. She had a lot of help. She had help from one of the wives of a law enforcement official. We don't know who, but it was someone pretty high up. Started calling my mother and say, listen, I know what's going on. I'm going to help you. I'm just so moved by your story and what you're trying to do for your son. And so there were people within the confines of Waco that tried to help the best they could. There was a guy named Mark Domain who opened up his hotel. He had the Brittany Hotel. And he let people stay at his hotel that were involved in Waco. As the survivors would come out, he let them stay at the hotel. And no one, believe me, at that time, nobody wanted, we were the pariahs of town, of the nation. Nobody wanted Davidian at your event. I can promise you that. It's just crazy. I remember when I first did Good Morning America, right after everything happened, they flew me to New York. And I walked into the lobby of, I think it's NBC. I don't really care. Good Morning, whatever.
Yeah.
I never watched that shit. No, I'm sorry. It's all just crap. It's fluff. It's all fluff crap about how great everyone is, how happy everyone. I know there's a lot of fucking problems that you guys are ever going to talk about. But whatever. That's one of the things that bothers me about Ellen, by the way.
Yeah.
Is, you get these celebrities and they're just so, I'm going to dance and everything's so happy-go-lucky. It's like, why don't you talk about something real? Talk about some of the shit that's really happening and use your power and authority and influence.
Your
and maybe
platform, yeah.
Use some of your money toward real issues and real problems like Waco, like BLM. I mean, come on. Anyway, That's just my beef on celebrities. It's all ridiculous. Bunch of fluff. So my point is I go into the lobby of NBC, and the second I open the door, it's like, in the lobby of NBC before all the morning shows and everything, like there's like dancers and there's people that are, like going over their lines, and there's one guy who's juggling on a unicycle, and you go into the lobby and it's like a circus because all these people are getting ready to do whatever show they're getting ready to do. And I walked in, and the second I walked in, it's like the fucking juggling balls froze in the air and everyone's dead silent. I'm dead silent. You could have heard a pin drop, and everyone just looked at me. And I'm just like walking to the Good Morning America. I just walked to the show. Hey, everybody, here's the freak. Hey, your ball suspended in midair. Yeah, that's great. I've never seen it. It was out of a movie. I've never seen. It was what a scene.
Yeah.
Dead silence, and it's just like I could hear their thoughts. Every one of them is like, "There's the freak."
Yeah.
The freak from Waco. So it's like, okay, yeah, great. Now I'm going to go on national television. Hi.
Yeah.
Hi, Martha fucking Quinn, or whoever you are, whatever your name is. Who's on Good Morning? Who's on Good Morning America in the 90s? Let's see. Anyway, I don't know.
Yeah.
One of them. It wasn't Katie Couric, but it was someone.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, yeah.
Oh my God. And so, I mean, back then, people only knew what they showed on the media from the government. So they didn't know what to think about you or any other survivor except what they saw.
Yeah.
Did y'all get to watch a lot of that, the media part of it when y'all were in the complex?
I did. I actually had a TV and a radio on at all times. I was always trying to figure out what people were thinking or saying. And, because of Ron Engelman, we understood that there was a big constitutional push out there. People that are supporting us just because under the Constitution, we're not getting our right to due process, all right? Because it was a siege situation, some even people said that was cruel and unusual punishment, which is the Eighth Amendment, being against the Eighth Amendment. Against cruel and unusual punishment, being a siege situation where this is before the gas, but where they're playing loud psychological warfare and buzzing helicopters, all that could have been considered. But because nothing had been in court yet, it was all new territory. It was really a strange territory. But constitutionally, I just realized that the Constitution is meaningless. From my experience,
Yeah.
the Constitution is the most important document in this country, but it just seems so meaningless with Waco. And it continues to be, because it's the lack of justice with these people, with these government agents, these bureaucrats who planned everything and got away with everything. And, they're never going to apologize to us. They're never going to give the survivors what is required for them to go out and lead healthy and happy lives. You're on your own. That's very much America. You all think the government's going to be for you in this COVID crisis? The fact they give you $1,200, hey, enjoy, because that's what you're going to get.
Yeah.
It's our money. It's
Yeah.
our fucking money.
Yeah.
They should be taking care of us seriously in a crisis like this. But you know what? They want to have that $23 billion they're going to spend on the next stealth bomber. Okay, instead of making one less stealth bomber and giving it to the people that need it now, Americans.
Yeah.
They're going to spend it on the stealth bomber. Sorry, but that's how it works.
Yeah.
Screw you guys. We got to make more fucking bombs. We have to make more planes of death, and we have to make more technology that's going to kill people. That's what we enjoy spending our money on. And I'm not saying we shouldn't protect our borders or we shouldn't protect our nation. Of course we should protect our nation from foreign invaders. When was the last time we were invaded by foreigners, however? We're protected by two pretty big oceans.
Yeah.
Canada, they're not going to rival us. Mexico, oh, maybe the gang guys. I'm just saying. Seriously, you don't think we could spend a few billion less on making some military equipment that we already have so much of? It's going to junkyards anyway, and take that money and put it to social uses like cleaning up the homeless. How about taking care of our vets? That's a good place to start.
Yeah.
Why don't we put that money in our vets, the veterans that actually serve the country, and give them health care and make sure they don't fucking blow their heads off when they come home, huh? That's a good start. I think that's a good start, don't you? They suffered and suffered and suffered for us, and we don't care.
Yeah.
It's disgusting.
It's so
Homeless?
sad.
Why is anybody in this country homeless? Why doesn't everybody in this country have health care?
Exactly.
Who's going to pay for it? The government should pay for it, ass nine. Seriously.
Yeah.
It's owed to us. It's our money. Again, guys, it's our money. It's our money.
That's why I never understood, why are there homeless people when there is enough money probably to build each of them a house? And, vets, everything. There should be no poverty in this country because they have billions upon billions of dollars. And it's never about peace. It's always about making, like you said, more bombs, more weapons. So
you get these very smart CEOs that have realized how to manipulate the system, destroy their companies, make sure the people that have worked for them their entire lives don't get their pensions because they sell them on the open market, and then take all the money and golden parachute their way right to their private fucking island. All the Jeffrey Epsteins that are fucking little kids, and the Shazine, whatever her name is, Maxwell's,
yes.
And all these people, Bill Clinton, who was written on Epstein's plane 23 times. Bill Clinton, 23 times. Seriously, dude.
Mm-hmm.
The same guy that said if a bunch of religious fanatics want to kill themselves, what can the federal government do about it?
Yeah.
Well, dude, just gotta say that's crazy. It's all crazy. The whole thing is crazy.
It is. It's messed up.
Why can't we take the money from the people that have destroyed the country? We should have done what Iceland did and throw their bankers in jail. When the Icelandic economy collapsed because of the 20 bankers that were charged, they threw them in jail. They built a special jail on an island. Not only threw them in jail, they took them outside of the country and put them in jail so they couldn't do it again.
Wow.
But guess what happened to our bankers? Nothing.
Mm-mm.
Not one thing. Nothing. One guy went to jail for it. And he was even a small player. So that's the problem. That's the problem, is the elites continue to reward each other. They paid off Obama, so Obama wouldn't go after him. And now Obama's making $100,000 doing this. And I liked Obama. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I just think Obama could have done a lot more with his presidency. And I understand that the Republicans fought him every sense of the way. And I did not realize the racism that existed in this country until now. I, as a white person, believed there was racism, but maybe in some really hicky southern states. It certainly wasn't No, it's all over. It's in the north. It's everywhere. And I did not see it because my black friends were my black friends, and I never had a problem with it. I did not see it in my circles.
Right.
So I'm particularly surprised when the Obama pendulum swung all the way to the other side, and we got Trump.
Yeah.
I didn't see that coming. It threw me for a loop. It really did. But my point with Obama was, I understand he was the first black president, and he did, I think, an amazing job for what he had to deal with. But we're talking, that's the word I'm looking for. We're talking real legacy. He could have taken that 100-fold and maybe not taken all the money from Goldman Sachs and AIG and all these companies and actually brought them to justice. Yeah. That would have made him a great president, in my estimation. Instead, he went to Flint and he drank the water.
Yeah.
He went to Flint, and instead of saying, we're going to protect you guys and get you good water, he drank the water. He did what they asked him to do. He was a player. That's all he was. He was just one of them, only with a different skin tone.
And it's shocking that Flint still doesn't have clean water.
Yeah. They do not care about us. They don't care about us.
No.
They do not care about us. Your government doesn't care about you guys.
Yeah.
They don't. That's why the Black Lives Matter is so important. And I've made this point over and over again because I understand this point intimately. I hate having to say it. What has happened in the last few months is not because George Floyd was killed. It is and it isn't.
Yeah. It's a culmination of all the years.
George Floyd being killed again, another black guy being killed in the way that he was so insidious and disgusting that it sickens me. It sickens most people. But it's the lack of justice. That's the issue here. Black Americans know that these white cops are going to go to court, and they have a 90% chance of getting off scot-free because it's happened over and over and over. And that's the problem. The problem is the system protects itself, and it doesn't protect the law. The system has to put the law first and say it should be hypersensitive for those that support and defend the law. Hypersensitive. In other words, you kill someone and you weren't in danger of being killed yourself, or you planted a gun on someone and that's proven, throw the fucking key away. You go right to jail.
Yeah.
Just like Al Pacino and Justice for All. My client, the Honorable Henry T. Fleming, should go right to fucking jail. He should go right to jail. Do not stop. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. And they just don't. They continue to get away with it. And I think of those greedy CEOs living on their island, and they've sold out their own people. Their leaders. Their leadership is supposed to represent the fact that the leaders go down with a ship. If the leaders can't protect their crew, they get their crew off and they go down with the ship. These guys sacrifice the crew so they could take all their money and then get off on the life raft and let the crew die. That's what these people have done. That's what they have done. They have ultimately betrayed us. They have betrayed us to it's incredulous.
Yeah.
And that's what this is. BLM, and yeah, I understand it's being perverted. Everything's perverted on both sides, believe me. But it's the lack of justice. Until we insist that the system includes itself in the law, this is not going to go away.
Yeah.
And it's going to lead to some very awful things.
And you know that on a whole another level that a lot of us will never understand, because the way that y'all were treated and how they treated you guys. And now when I see the National Guard going up to these protesters in their tanks and stuff, I immediately thought back to you guys and how that's so unnecessary.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. It worries me every time. I always think any second it's going to end up in a bloodbath. I hate it. I hate that we're here. But it's going to stay here until somebody in government does the right thing. Until Congress all says, okay, they got to go. We got to go. These people got to go. Whoever, If you were hung out with Jeffrey Epstein and you screwed a 12-year-old, you're going to jail. If you're a CEO and you've taken all this money and you're living on your island, guess we're going to confiscate that money, give it back to the American people. And they got to do it. And they got to throw those CEOs in jail. And I swear, they're going to get you. If it keeps going on, the pitchforks are going to come out, kids. You ever heard of the French Revolution?
Yeah.
Let them eat cake. Let them tell us to fucking eat cake. I'm telling you. People are sick of it, dude. People
fed up.
Fed right up. And we need some serious changes in this government, in this country. It's got to go back to being a constitutional government. We're going to lose it all.
Yeah.
And I wish I had more solutions. I really do. All I could do is kind of throw the flashlight on all the problems.
Yeah. Yeah. And I hate to change the subject like so much, but I was just wondering myself what that reunion was like between you and your mom when you first saw your mom after.
It was fine. My mom and I are very different people. We're just very headstrong. And so I love my mother. Listen, my mom's great. And I get a lot of who I am from her, but she's so extreme in her way of thinking as well. That our debates are very heated. She drives me crazier than anyone I've ever known. And my mother loves to push every button I have. And I don't know why she doesn't. It's like, you just like to see me fucking have a heart attack? Is that what it is? Do you like to see my blood pressure go? She just does. She fucking loves it. And I don't understand that kind of, I don't wish that on my daughter. Yeah. So, but yeah, it was great. I'm glad that she was there. I wish that there was a part of me where she would have stayed away. I didn't want to be a national figure on this. I was thinking I could get under the radar and maybe just go back to a normal life where people would not recognize who David Thibodeau was.
Yeah. So what was that like for you?
My mother went over on all those shows, so.
Yeah. I mean, so what was life like trying to go back to normalcy? Did you ever have any kind of normal life afterwards?
Yeah, I went back to doing what I do best. I started playing drums in bands. Beat the crap out of the drums every weekend on a stage. And it worked. It saved me from a lot of anger. I still had a lot of anger, but I got so much out on the weekends that I could get through the weeks until the next Thursday and Friday and Saturday when I get to play again. I wish I had more videotapes of those early days because I put so much into it.
Man, I wish I could see that.
So much energy. I got a video of one of my friends right after a set. We were in Maine. It was it was winter, and we went outside, and the smoke is pouring off of my head. It's like I'm a human sauna because that's kind of energy that I would put into it. Wow. It was just so cold. You could see the smoke coming from my head. I actually should post that video. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, you should. I want to see.
I'll look for that so I can post that today.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're still playing music now, right?
Not really. My band was in Maine. I'm in Waco trying to do this land thing, trying to figure all that out. I just don't have people to play with around here. My drum set's still in Maine, so I haven't really played. I got my guitar that I should probably take out of my case soon and start playing again.
Yeah.
But right now I'm not playing. I am starting to miss it. But it's also COVID. Even if I were working, there's no gigs. Nobody can play any gigs anymore. It's going to be a very different world for a while.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And what are your plans for the future now? Like, where do you go from here? Any plans?
To try to work on a documentary. I'm sick of every documentary ending with it being a mass suicide still. That drives me crazy because it's not fucking true. So that means that we're all just creating, every fucking news agency out there is creating the ending they want still to this day. Drives me nuts because there's so much other evidence. That's the key. There's so much other evidence to show a different ending, but no one will touch it. They're all a bunch of pussies. Yeah. So the only way to, not you, but the only way to even talk about it is to, the only way, it's a podcast like this where you can tell your story and you're not interrupted. You don't have to be a master of the soundbite to get your point out because you have time to tell your point. I love that. It's great. I'm working it. I'm working on a documentary. I hope it gets done. We could use some financial help, and so far no one wants to touch it. Don't even know. You would think with the popularity of the series, Netflix or someone, but no one will touch it.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens.
Well, good luck on
like
that.
I said, yeah, thanks. I mean, I right now that I'm surviving off book sales, and that's it. So
yeah,
that or I'm going to drive for Lyft.
Yeah, so that's at wacosurvivors.com, right?
Yes, I'm going to try to wait till COVID passes a little bit though before I start doing that again. And again, I would love to go back to being in a band and doing what I do best, but that's out. Nobody can do that right now.
Yeah. Did you mention that? Yeah, it sucks. Did you mention to me that you wanted to start a podcast of your own?
I've been thinking about it. I have days where I don't want to talk this much, though.
Yeah, I know. I kind of feel bad because I know you talk about this all the time, and I feel bad because I know you talk about it all the time, and you've got to be sick of it.
No, I'm not. I just want to be inspired all the time, and I just want to make sure I have fresh things to say. And because it's a catch-22, I've never done it, so there's a little fear there about doing it. And then there's the also I'm 51 now, so there's a part of me that I really don't give a shit if you like what I think or believe what I say. I really don't.
Yeah.
But I'm a musician. So that means if you don't like what I say, then I get hurt, even though I would never tell you, and I'd be like, fuck off, you suck.
Yeah.
So there's always that thing going on there.
I totally get it. Oh, my God. Well, is there... Well, is there anything about the whole Waco situation that you feel like you didn't talk about that you want to?
No.
Yeah.
I think we're good. I did create, I love this though, this is really cool. I made the dove the symbol.
Yes, I love that.
Mount Carmel movement. Yep.
Yeah.
And so wacosurvivors.com, I put it on, I got a hat.
Oh, I love it.
So I'm trying to make this the thing where it's like when people think of Mount Carmel, it's not the compound, it's Mount Carmel.
Yeah.
So Waco Survivors, I call it Mount Carmel every time now.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to make it about Mount Carmel.
Yeah.
And so that's me, that's the important thing when you go to the website, that's the homepage. It talks about the survivors of Mount Carmel. So a couple of things I want to do is I want to take cult out of the lexicon as far as Mount Carmel is concerned. And, just certain words, compound. It was a home. It was a church. It was a big building. You can call it a compound if you want, but that's not how we looked at it.
Yeah, it was a home.
Yeah,
family.
So, yeah, it's just, I just want people to know what really happened. I know that we got, when you start to go through the transcripts between the FBI negotiators and David Koresh, it's really fascinating because you actually hear a lot of times where he's talking about scripture to people.
Yeah.
I have audio tapes of him talking scripture from the 80s on the website. A lot of audio. And some of his music and stuff like that. But, I wanted to make it a space mostly about those that have died.
Yeah. And
so I got a memorial shirt with the names of the people that died on the back. But what I really want to do is there's a memorial slideshow presentation that we use at the memorials, and I just can't seem to get permission from the guy who put it together to use it. And I'd love to have that on the website where people can, see the slides that show all the individuals, and it's got a little segment about them and who they were.
Yeah. Oh.
So far, I can only get that at the memorial. I'm hoping to include that on the site soon.
Yeah, I hope so too. Because also, that's another thing I wanted to talk about were the people that didn't make it out. What was your relationship like with those people that didn't make it out, and how did you feel when you knew oh, that's my that's like my sister, or that's like my mother figure and she's gone?
Yeah, it was just incredibly hard. It's like you lose that many people that in one day. It's devastating. At the same time, there's a faith there. My faith was stronger than ever. So it's like that was their part of the journey, was to go.
Yeah.
And be somewhere better and learn things they needed to learn. And my part of the journey was to stay behind. But that's the part of the journey I didn't want for myself. I didn't want to stay behind. I wanted to be with a group. I thought we're all going to end up in jail together. I didn't know it was going to happen. So it could have gone either way, really. So, being a survivor has been a challenge in itself, very much so.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's if it weren't for the scripture, I probably would have been completely devastated. But scripturally, we had an understanding of something that was going to take place, and for a very specific reason. That's why the people that died for their faith. They're martyrs.
Yeah.
I make this point time and time again. A lot of people don't get it yet. I'm going to keep making it until people get it. The people of Mount Carmel did not die for David Koresh. They died for God. They literally died for Genesis to Revelation, and the words of God and the harmonization of the chapters and the plan they were shown out of the scripture. And that plan, I don't believe was made up by one guy who figured it out, figured the scripture out, was able to get people to do his bidding. That's not who the people at Mount Carmel were. They're all very individualistic. Many of them had gone on to higher education. Many of them had degrees. Many of them had professional jobs. They were very, very intelligent people. They weren't what you think of typically when you think of sheeple, if you will.
Yeah.
So, these people died for the word of God, period. They're martyrs. Phenomenal. They died for the word of God. They died for God. Most people don't get that.
I think that takes more strength than I don't think I have that kind of strength in me. I don't know if I were ever faced with something like that, if I could die for it. I don't know.
I get it. I didn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't think they were going to shoot me, but at the same time, I could have burned.
Yeah.
I could have definitely not exited that building. And I don't know. It's just a weird thing.
Do you think that you have any survivor guilt?
I did. I don't now.
Good.
If anything, it's the opposite. These days, I got too much shadow on my face. I don't even know. I just put that on for fun. I hate hats too. But anyway, it's my new cool hat that I hate because it's a hat.
I love it.
I have the opposite of survivor guilt now. At first, I had survivor guilt. Now I'm just pissed off. It's like, thanks, Dave. So let's see. You're going to cause all this controversy. You're going to have several wives that are young, so everyone's going to think you're a fucking pariah. And then I'm going to be left here to talk about it. And I'm an apologist for David Koresh. What David Koresh did is many people's books wrong. And scripturally, see, here's where it gets crazy.
Yeah, that's where
scripturally,
yeah.
all these old men, scripturally, all these prophets had young wives, and many of them. King David had 800 wives, Solomon 1,000, and it just goes on and on. And scripturally, as long as you can take care of all the wives, you can have all the wives you want. Scripturally, it's not the world we live in now.
Yeah.
So, what am I trying to say with all this? What I'm trying to say is that the Bible's a really weird place to live. So, if David Koresh better be who he says he was and could reveal who he was. If not, then there's probably a very, very, very warm spot in hell for that character, for that person, for that individual. And that's how I look at it. It's like, if you are just some guy that deceived a bunch of people, then screw you and burn in hell.
Yeah.
If you're going to be justified, it's going to be at this point with all your crimes and all your sins, the Father better justify you. The Father better forgive you. Now, personally, I am a horrible person. I love to drink. I love to, not that makes you a horrible person, but, I like women. It says, I like kitties. So I'm not that bad. My point is I like to I live my life having a good time. I really did. I don't apologize for it. That's just who I am.
Yeah.
So was that bad? Yeah, probably. Yeah, maybe. I've probably hurt some people along the way I wish that I wouldn't have hurt. But we're all going to have to face a judgment. I thoroughly believe that. And so it's like I tell people when I'm doing podcasts, especially like, okay, end result I want from my documentary is I want a deathbed confession. I want someone from the military or the FBI who was at the back of the building saying, yep, we shot people that day. I want a confession. That's my ultimate Christmas present, would be one of those asshats confessing to me that they did it. And I probably shouldn't call them asshats if I want a confession.
I was going to say, yeah, that might not work.
Yeah, I can't help it. There's a lot of pain under that bridge, man. They killed a lot of people needlessly. And they did it. They justify it because of their fucking job. That's ridiculous. If I had a job where I had to go in and shoot people's dogs, I'd probably want to get a job at Burger King.
Yeah, I'd quit and peace out.
Who wants to go and fucking kill people's dogs for a living? And then that's just, I don't know. You got some problems, I think. Whatever. It's what it is. So what's my point? Okay, my point is, we all have our own problems. And some days when I don't think I can go on or take it anymore, I say, listen, at least these people aren't going to get away with their sin. And I believe that. Yeah. I think that all these FBI guys who've been covering up and who know some shit and who have maybe the guy that hid the door, the guy that destroyed the videotapes, one of them, come forward, look the survivors in the eye and tell them what you did. And that's it. The truth will set you free. Unburden your soul and set it free before you die, because it's the only hope you got, man. Let's just say there's 1% in 100 that crash is true, right? Let's just say there's 1%. That means that you fought against God's person, God's servant, and you kill people that believe in the Bible that you put your right hand on and swear in a court. People really believe that. The people that died at Mount Carmel believe that book. They believed it 100%. Those are the people you killed. Whether you can paint them in whatever brush you want as criminals, but you killed people that believe 100% God in the Scripture. So what does that make you? Yeah. The Nazis killed a bunch of Jews that they justified it by saying these are the people that killed Christ. Wow, think about that for a second. So what I'm saying, I'm going to die. Probably soon, the way I eat. But I'm going to die.
Stop it!
I'm doing keto. Anyway, it doesn't matter. What's the matter? Anyway, I'm going to die. Paige, someday when you're 110, you're going to die. These FBI guys are going to die. The ATF guys are going to die. Donald Trump is going to die. I'm not threatening the president.
Right.
I'm making that statement, FBI guy, okay? All of the ATF and FBI guys, you're all going to die. Unburden your soul, man. Look me in the eye and tell me what really happened. And do it on camera. Let's do it on camera together. Let's do it. Give me a call. Let's do it on camera together. I'll walk you through it. I'll forgive you. Yeah. I really will. Just tell me the truth. I want to know the truth.
I think people would actually have so much respect for that if somebody would just do it.
They would.
But
they would go down in American history as telling the truth.
Yeah,
like Gary Nesner, okay? Gary Nesner he's an FBI guy. He's told the truth. I have nothing but respect for Gary. I never thought I'd say that about an FBI guy.
Yeah.
It's because of all the things they've done to me. That organization has piled a shitload of grief on my person. They've killed all my friends. They've called me a liar on national television. You guys, the FBI, you guys have just done everything you possibly can to tear Dave Thibodeau down. Whatever. I'm still here. And I'm going to die just like you are. It's like you said. This time is about legacy. What are Americans 100 years down the road going to think? 200 years, 500 years. They're not going to care that you lied, that you protected people that don't give a shit about you. Well, actually, they're protecting their pensions. I forget about that. But so what? Let's say you're close. All right? Let's say your pension's almost done. Tell the truth. Just tell the truth anyway. It's the thing to do.
Yeah.
I have when I sign a book now, I signed the book, The Truth Will Set You Free, and the free shall seek the truth. Mm-hmm. And I just believe that. I believe that the truth will set you free, and that once you're free, you should seek the truth at all costs.
Oh,
and you should tell the truth as a free nation.
Dude, I just love you so much. Oh my God.
Well, thanks.
I do. I just love you so much. I'm gonna cry. I'm so glad that you came on my little podcast, and
I'm glad you asked.
Oh my God. And I hope we keep in touch too.
My job is done here. I made her cry. Sure, that'd be great. Let's keep in touch. If anything ever comes up, let me know. I'd love to do the show again.
Yeah, and I just urge everyone to go to wacosurvivors.com. Pick you up something, I'm definitely going to go on there tonight and start looking at stuff. So I'm excited.
Thanks. Thank you. I appreciate it. There's a lot of good information on there. A lot of free stuff.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. All
right. Take care, huh?
And
okay,
this concludes the conversation with David Thibodeau.
Bye.
I hope you all enjoyed it, and thank you so much for listening. Until next week, stay safe and stay healthy. And this concludes the conversation with David Thibodeau. I hope you all enjoyed it, and thank you so much for listening. Until next week, stay safe and stay healthy.